How's it going, everybody, on this Tuesday, my rankings day of the week? But instead of doing a UFC episode, I'm going to do it from AEW after their weekend for Double or Nothing. And so, breaking down the top 10 in the men's, women's, tag team trios, and women's tag teams to try to separate out there. So, without further ado, let's get this ranking episode on the go. Right? Gotta make sure. All right. We're going to start first with the AEW men's rankings, where we have the World Championship, the TNT Championship, the International Championship, the Continental Championship, and the National Championship. Number one, and he is the three-time AEW World Champion. It is Maxwell Jacob Friedman. This dude got it done this weekend. He is a three-time champion before he's even 30 years old, joining the likes of The Rock, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and Randy Orton, doing so, defeating Darby Allin, and also adding on top of his international slash American championship that he's already won in his time. He is clear as day the number one wrestler in AEW today. Now, who do I say is number two? It's the man who I believe is going to be the winner of the Owen Hart tournament and heading to All In London 2026 for the main event for the AEW World Championship. Will Ospreay, MJF, and Will Ospreay are one and two, head and shoulders, the two best stars of AEW. Now, they did have a match for the AEW American Championship. That's why I put that out there 2 years ago at the All In pay-per-view, and where MJF was the champion. He defeated Will Ospreay to walk into All In as the champion, and then renamed it the American Championship. To me, Will Ospreay has a lot of momentum going forward since he's returned back and has aligned himself with the Death Riders, adding a new arsenal of submission holds and ferociousness to his attacks that he never had before. So I think Will Ospreay is a good spot where he is number two. And to be fairly honest, if y'all remember my episode, I did this last month where I did it after WrestleMania. And I was just, all right, the top 10 of AEW versus the top 10 of WWE. These were the number one and twos of AEW and of AEW's last month's rankings, and they're the same two for this month. Now, who's number three? The man who just lost his AEW World Championship this Sunday after a record that will never be even duplicated for the rest of time of professional wrestling. He defended the AEW World title 8 times in 32 days, ladies and gentlemen. The man literally held the belt and won it it will be 6 Dynamites ago tomorrow, and then won it off of MJF, defended it against Tommaso Ciampa, Brody King, Kevin Knight, Pac, Tanosuke Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, Speedball Mike Bailey, and then tried to do his eighth attempt in 32 days against Maxwell Jacob Freeman after winning it from Maxwell Jacob Freeman, was it 41 days ago? Yeah. It'll be 6 weeks exactly tomorrow, making it 42 days exactly. And Darby Allin being the number three wrestler in the company right now is that's where he belongs. He is literally a top three candidate for any main event, triple threat, fatal four way, you name it, stadium stampede, anarchy, anything that you can think of that's in the main event, Darby Allin deserves to be in. He is not the AEW World Champion. He is now a former AEW World Champion and will always have that asterisk next to him whenever he competes. I hope he retires the rest of his career with AEW, but there's a long way for his career to go. Number four, the man that, just like Will Ospreay, advanced to the semifinals of the Owen Hart tournament this Sunday when he defeated Bandito. And just like Darby Allin, those two men are going to be forever known as former AEW world champions. And Swerve Strickland has the momentum that he needs to challenge for the Owen Hart Championship tournament and then go on to All In to challenge um, whether it's MJF or whoever he plans on challenging this, not this month of May, but the end of next month, June, at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, who I believe I have an idea of who his next challenger for that, the special Forbidden Door where promotions from all over the world except WWE come into AEW to mix and match the best of their company against this company. And for me, I do think that there is something interesting in the works for MJF at Forbidden Door. And the man that I have uh champion. Right, Callum Newman. If y'all know, that's why I think going back to Will and Maxwell being the one and two being the main events of All In this year, if Maxwell goes into Forbidden Door, which he most likely will as the AEW World Champion, and I think it would make sense for him to face the New Japan Pro Wrestling Champion Callum Newman, who is 23 years old and is one of the new stable members of Will Ospreay's United Empire. If if Maxwell has a match with Callum and he beats him and then adds insult to injury, be on the lookout for that. But now, going back to Swerve Strickland, number four, he's going to be, in my opinion, the man that challenges Will Ospreay for the finals at Forbidden Door to go to all In, which is a rematch of their AEW World Championship match from 2 years ago at the same pay-per-view Forbidden Door. Swerve Strickland won this time. That's what I was thinking. Like, I thought if Will was going to beat Swerve in the same pay-per-view, I thought Swerve was going to. I know I seem like for Darby Allin, I thought, I know I'm going to look stupid by keep saying this. I thought he was going to shave MJF's head bald. I thought he was going to retain the world championship and be and hold the title for a little bit longer so that he can defend it against Okada, against Roosh, that he was supposed to do this tomorrow, but that's not happening anymore. And I think for me, it's Swerve Strickland. That was the match I wanted to see happen after Forbidden Door, potentially leading into All In. Swerve Strickland versus Darby Allin for the world title. Swerve Strickland wins, and then it's Swerve versus Will at the main event of All In. But if we get a rematch of MJF and Will Ospreay, since we're going to make Will Ospreay the biggest babyface in the company's history, and to do that, he's got to defeat Swerve Strickland. Then you know what? I think it does make sense. It's like I will remember at the first ever All In back in 2023 that Swerve Strickland had a tag team match with Christian Cage against the aforementioned Darby Allin and his tag team partner, the Icon Sting. I could see Swerve and Darby having a one-on-one, just all out hardcore street fight type of match in the All In Wembley Stadium. That is to be determined. But now we go to number five, and still the Continental Champion, Jon Moxley, the leader as far as the most world championship reigns in the company's history, the ace of AEW, and the man who is tying all of the bad blood from his past of last year mainly and making them his allies. He's shaking the hands of Kyle O'Reilly, training Will Ospreay in his return to become the next world champion and the next new world champion, because we've had a lot of revolving doors of Darby Allin, obviously, but it'd be nice to see who will be the next and new first-time champion. Jon Moxley is helping Will Ospreay accomplish that goal since he's already done it 4 times. So, who's number six then? The new international champion, Konosuke Takeshita, getting the biggest victory of his career on top of beating Kenny Omega twice back in 2023 when he was just aligning himself with Don Callis and announcing himself as the Alpha. Konosuke just beat the man that was the kryptonite to Kenny Omega until he beat him 1 time, mind you, and all the other ones it's been a draw and Okada victories. And now he gets to add his name as the men that have beaten Kazuchika Okada in AEW, which I believe is only 2 names: Takeshita and this man that follows him right afterwards. Nope, nope, nope. I did put him at 7 because the man that is at number 8, he's building momentum, as all of you know, but it's not enough to be a former world champion's momentum who is still performing at a high level. I was skeptical going into Double or Nothing, being that we haven't seen Kenny Omega at all since since legitimately he lost his championship match at Dynasty a month ago to MJF. We haven't seen most of him, like him competing on Dynamite or Collision in the time being. So I was nervous to see like what would he look like. He looks $1 million. Like I'm not saying normally, but he's returned back to old form of the best bout machine, Kenny Omega, and his impact, what he did at the Stadium Stampede match, what he always does when he's involved in those matches. 10 out of 10. So now the number eight, who I think is going to make a run for number six, Konosuke Takeshita, and that is Kevin the Jet Knight. These are the two men who have pinfall victories over Kazuchika Okada in AEW. One being the international champion and the other being the TNT champion. Kevin the Jet Knight turning heel on Darby Allin after he lost the world championship and was being stretchered out of the arena is now building momentum to put himself as one of, not to mention, I'd also said, like he has the victory over Okada. He also has a victory over the man who just became a three-time AEW World Champion in MJF. And that will be, in my opinion, the catalyst of what made Kevin Knight betray Darby Allin, even though they both grew up under the same wrestling academy, Buddy Wayne Academy in Seattle, Washington. And Kevin saw Darby Allin fail in the mission that he got done. He beat MJF for the TNT Championship 3 weeks ago when MJF was curious after he wanted to have a rematch, but then Kevin Knight wanted to have his match. And then when he beat MJF, that's when he got his next opportunity or his opportunity to be the next challenger for Darby Allin's World Championship. And he lost to Darby Allin. So now he is confused because he beat MJF. He lost to Darby Allin, but Darby Allin just lost the belt to MJF. So then he saw the opportunity. He thinks he can beat MJF. And since Darby Allin couldn't get the job done, that's what gave him the push to go over the edge. And now, who do I have as number nine? The man that just lost the international championship. And I think with that being off of his shoulders, a weight lifted off, he can add another weight on top of it and another goal in his brain to go forth. And that's the AEW World Championship. We have yet to see that was supposed to be the match 2 weeks ago from yet tomorrow. It's 13 days officially, but it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. And it was supposed to be Okada versus Darby Allin for one of his many in a row championship defenses on Dynamite's main events, but it instead was Takeshita, and then we never did get to see that Okada AEW World Championship challenge for a singles match. I don't even think he's had an opportunity for the world title since his entire tenure in the company. But now that the international championship is off his shoulders, we can see that more of a possibility. And lastly, before we get to my honorable mention, Andrade El Idolo. I love this. Of all the times I hated his shtick where he just takes selfie pictures with the hottest girls in the front row of the crowd, he got to take one with a blonde-haired Luchasaurus. And that is brilliant. It's one of the best pops we got of the whole night. He took the best bump in the entire Stadium Stampede match when he got one wing and angeled off the ring apron to a table on the outside, for the love of God. So Andrade, in my opinion, he's the next guy up. He replaces Takeshita as the big three in the Don Callis family: Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Andrade. And why I put Andrade over the honorable mention is because, yep, there it is. I was like, where did my honorable mention go? Little slow. Kyle Fletcher is back. He made his return last Sunday after I thought he was going to be out of commission for a long period of time, but they were just keeping us out of the mix. And Kyle Fletcher came back, unbuttoned the jacket, attacked the international champion, and now he is the former TNT champion who vacated his title a little over a month ago at the Dynasty pay-per-view, where Kevin the Jet Knight won it in a casino gauntlet match. And so Kyle Fletcher now essentially returning. He is basically like, when my next ranking come out, I have all much planned to put him above Takeshita. Like that is momentum. Like where he is at right now, I can put him over Andrade. I can put him over Okada because he just lost to Takeshita. I can put him over Kevin Knight because he was the TNT champion before you won it, which you didn't even beat him to win it. No, that's tough. That's tough. I can't put him over Omega, but I can put him at six. It would be a little hard to do reorient. I maybe would do seven and then Omega at six, but we'll see. But now we finish the top 10 of the men, so let's go to the women, shall we? Yes, the TBS and the Women's World Championship are the titles that are on the line for all of these 10 women that I put in these rankings. Number one, now mind you, the last time I did this rankings, who was my number one? It was Willow Nightingale. Even though she is not the AEW Women's World Champion, she was the TBS champion before last Wednesday. She announced her shoulder has made her have to vacate her title and withdraw from the Owen Hart tournament. So I had her number one because both Tekla and Willow were the champions of the division, and in my opinion, she was a better champion. She's more established. The crowd knows her more. It's crazy that Tekla made her debut last year after, like, tomorrow was 1 year ago, the debut of Tekla, which she wasn't even seen on AEW television whatsoever until Jamie Hayter, who lost the finals of the Owen Hart tournament to Mercedes Moné, comes out to the crowd and then gets attacked by the debuting Toxic Spider Tekla. And now she is the AEW Women's World Champion, defeating three former champions in one match last Sunday to retain her championship. And with Willow Nightingale's injury, I have no choice but to admit what my eyes were ignoring from telling my brain, and that Tekla is the number one women's wrestler in AEW today. Now, who is number two? The woman, in my opinion, that she did defeat, like this has not been as a fact, she defeated Chris Allen to win the championship. So she is the last AEW Women's World Champion to hold the title before Tekla. And she was, in my opinion, the one that was the closest to dethroning Tekla in the match last Sunday, which means we may be just building up to her comeback story, but we're adding some obstacles, like the fact that the person who is number three, who also returned, is now at one point was her friend, hit her in the back with the kendo stick. And now this is going to add a little bit more adversity to Chris Statlander's comeback campaign towards the AEW Women's World Championship. And Sheeta being a former three-time champion, she is at the verge of being the female ace, the Jon Moxley of the AEW women's roster, and being the first four-time. She holds the record, I believe, for the most world championship reigns in the company. But if she becomes four-time, it will set her apart from everyone else because I think there's only, or Tony's three-time. So yeah, I believe Tony and Sheeta are right there neck and neck. And maybe that's the thing. She wants to get that fourth before Tony comes back. And then when she does, dude, she will be, in my opinion, the AEW women's version of Charlotte Flair. She will win multiple 10 plus time AEW women's championship reigns. And Sheeta wants to attemptingly prevent that from happening too soon while she still has time to increase her lead. So we go from number three to number four. Jamie Hayter, who is the fourth woman involved in the match last Sunday, which was all involved in current or former AEW women's champions. And Jamie, I think I put her at the fourth of all those four women or of all the four women, she's the last in my opinion, because she's also involved in the tag team division. So her mind is not as much set on winning the world championship or the TBS championship that these other women are. But maybe I am being wishful thinking about that. She was very confident. She hit Tekla with the haterade and then got her pinfall disrupted. So it's circumstantial, but I think Jamie right now needs to build herself up a little bit more before she is in the top three with the rest of those women. Number five, the woman that impressed me the most, and she is, with the injuries in the AEW women's roster and with her just being so consistent, the Ring of Honor Forever champion Athena, advancing to the semifinals of the Owen Hart Women's Tournament, 2 matters away from being in the women's championship match at All in London. Against who? I have no idea. But regardless, she is one of the best female talents on the roster, and she is not hurt. I don't know how much of her career in AEW has had her been injured, but to me, she is one of the most consistent performers for Ring of Honor, for AEW, Collision, Fairway, like every show you need, you can always call Athena. Now we go to, in my opinion, who I believe is going to be the next TBS championship champion with Willow vacating the belt last Wednesday. I was disappointed when Mina lost to the woman who's ranked above her, Athena. Mina showed a lot of heart in that match, and yes, she did get O-faced and get pinned 1, 2, 3 by the Ring of Honor World Champion. but I still think she did it so that she can. Yes, she put Athena over in the tournament, but it also put over Mina as far as an underdog to win the vacant title that her friend Will Nightingale has no longer carry because now she's injured. So now we go from number 6 to number 7. The other woman who I think has a good chance to win the Owen Hart tournament because she is from England. There is one thing though, and I know all of you fans out there are going to pick this up that I'm going to be comparing to the first back 4 years ago when Adam Cole and Britt Baker won the men's and women's Owen Hart tournament. It's like if they did Alex Windsor and Will Ospreay the same thing like 4 years later, you already know what people are going to say about that. And again, there's nothing wrong with that happening because both Alex and Will would love to be in their home country's biggest stadium of Wembley and have championship opportunities for their wrestling promotions, biggest prize. I think it would be more emotional for them than it was for Adam Cole and Britt Baker because let's be honest, they aren't even dating anymore. So maybe just like how we replaced Jade Cargill's reign as being the longest reigning TBS champion with Mercedes Moné, we can replace the Britt Baker and Adam Cole history. It's like we'll just replace it with Alex Windsor and Will Ospreay. Now, we also have in the other side Sky Blue in one of the quadrants of the quarterfinals competing against Saray. And I believe that match is going to probably put over Sky Blue because during the post media scrum for Tekla, she's like, "Who would you like to win the Owen Hart tournament?" I was like, "That's a great question." You got the champion right in front of you. You have 8 women with now 7, now that Mina's eliminated, who are vying for the opportunity to challenge for her championship at All In. Who would you like to face? She picked Sky Blue. That is exactly what a stable mate would do for their other friend in the stable. That's Sky Blue and Tekla and Julia Hart in the Triangle of Madness. Sky Blue has been picking up a lot more momentum. I think her inclusion in the Owen Hart tournament, being an AEW talent, not from CMLL or any of the Japanese promotions like Stardom, I think it will help her and get over and get to the semifinals. But if she does, then I believe she's going to face. She would face the woman who just won last Sunday, and that's Athena. So Athena or Sky Blue to the finals. I got Athena in that one. And then the other woman that I have in the other quadrant of this Owen Hart tournament, CMLL Women's Champion Persephone, who made her emergence last year at the Forbidden Door event, and now she's more likely I do see like it's her versus Alex Windsor versus the wild card. We still don't know who that wild card is. I am very skeptical of who it could be. If it was gonna be Mercedes Moné, I would have seen that this past Sunday, and then she would be number one. I don't care about any of the champions in this rankings. Mercedes Moné would be number one, not even close. The only one who can challenge her is Toni Storm, and I mean can, not does. Keep that in mind. So with that being said. Persephone is in a position to potentially challenge the wild card or the winner, it could be Alex Windsor in the semifinals to go to the finals of the tournament. Again, I don't know who it could be. And I know for a fact that she is not losing to Hazuki. I mean, Hazuki is a great talent from Stardom, but Persephone has been already establishing herself and she's all elite. She's got the CMLL Women's Championships. That's why she's in this top 10 list at number 9. And number 10, who made her return last week in the 8 women tag team match with her and the Brawling Birds and Mina Shirakawa against the Triangle of Madness and Athena. Thunder Rosa, with all of these injuries that I got this picture from, to the right of her and the other opposite of this picture is Jamie Hayter, Windsor, Mina taking their picture before their 8 women tag team match. And again, when all of these injuries and all of these missing in action women's wrestlers are unable to perform, Thunder Rosa is always the person that you can, if she's healthy, you can throw her in a match against anyone. She will lose. She will put over whoever needs to win. She will make that person look like $1 million. But she is, like I said, for the other men competitors, she is and will always be a former AEW world champion. So now we finished we got to do the honorable mention, which is, okay, this one is just an ideal because she is the Ring of Honor Women's TV champion, and she did lose to Willow Nightingale a few weeks ago in her last official AEW TBS Championship title defense, and she threw her shoulder out against Red Velvet, according to the words of Willow Nightingale, even though it's circumstantial, but Red Velvet might have been given the over from Willow to make a challenge against Mina for the TBS Championship. And if she does, she'll be in the honorable mention like she deserves to be. Now, we get to the tag team and trios rankings. This one I'm most proud of. The tag team and trios AEW champions currently are Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. Sorry, Christian Cage and Adam Copeland and the conglomeration, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Orange Cassidy. So they are number one. So every team that I have from two down to the honorable mention is literally a tag team slash faction. So check this out. Number two, FTR with Tommaso Ciampa, which we all know this team could challenge for any bit of the tag team championships or the trios championships. And here's an idea I had in my head when I was putting this presentation together. What if Harwood or Cash gets hurt and then Tommaso fills in and replaces that? Like we have seen Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler be tag team partners with each other for over a decade. They're not brothers. We know eventually this FTR dynamic might have to blow up. And I know they just came off of being the biggest tag team heels for the whole year since they betrayed Adam Copeland over, yeah, exactly a year ago. But this to me seems like a fresh idea that Ciampa can take over for one of either Dax or Cash's, placement in the tag team, and they can make a run and be tag team champions, which whoever wins a championship with Ciampa, it'll be their first tag team reign or championship reign without their other tag team partner. So I just think that's an idea just to throw out there. But if these three challenge the conglomeration for their titles like they could have if they beaten them in a match with Orange Cassidy against Ciampa a few weeks ago, we can definitely say that as a possibility down the road. Now, number three, this one is more established after their victory at Double or Nothing in the Stadium Stampede match. The Elite, which it's not official that this is what the team name is, but it is three of the original Elite members, and the fourth one joined the other two after they kicked him out 3 years ago. It's still crazy. But Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, the Best Bout Machine, Jungle Jack Perry, and his best friend Luchasaurus. All five of these men, made up and are now allies with each other as of Full Gear of last year. And we saw what four of them, Matt, Nick, Kenny, and Jack, did with the help of Luchasaurus in the crowd with Andrade. That was hilarious. What they did this Sunday at Double or Nothing in the Stadium Stampede match. Matt and Nick Jackson, I think, could make a run for Adam Copeland and Christian Cage any day of the week. I want to see Young Bucks, Christian Cope tomorrow. Take my money. So then we go to the other team that got a win over or got a win on Double or Nothing against the Ops. Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Pac, and Danny Garcia, with the potential of Will Ospreay, make up the current Death Riders as we speak. But Will is also, like I mentioned, part of United Empire. He leads it. And that group, we saw them go against the Death Riders just a little over a month ago before Will Ospreay challenged Jon Moxley at Dynasty for the AEW International Championship and lost. So we go from, number 4 to number 5, and that is also the team that got the win at Double or Nothing with the Elite, the Hurt Syndicate with Chris Jericho. This picture gives me an idea that MVP might be past his prime, but what if we know that the former tag team champions and Bobby and Shelton can make a run to, if they challenged Adam Copeland and Christian, and these guys have so much history with each other, take my money. But if Jericho joins the group and then also challenges for the and challenges for the trios championships, I just made it far in my head. You know what? There's a team. I'm going to make an adjustment and say, no, they're not the number 10, but I just love my head. So Chris Jericho and Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin making a run for the Trios Championships doesn't sound for rich. Like MJF tried it last year, and notice that they all think Chris Jericho is way cooler than MJF. That's funny. Now we go from number 5 to number 6, the Dogs. This one is a little bit of a tag team at the moment, not even a trios, because Gabe Kidd is out indefinitely with the dislocated shoulder, 4 to 6 months they're going to give him. And so far, David Finlay and Clark Connors have been stealing the spotlight every chance they get. They are so fast. Like as small as they are, and as much as they, don't get credit for being, strong, muscular bodybuilders, their speed sets them apart from all the other tag teams I'm seeing competing lately. Like they're just the heel version with their speed. They're just intense with their attacks, and before the good guys can get, their momentum regained, they squash it back out and then keep making the fans boo them. And that is great heel tag team work that I'm noticing. And them and the FTR are the top ones in my opinion in the roster right now. And this one is not even a tag team, but you can throw any two of these men together, any three of these men together, and they are, yes, the Don Callis family. Okada, Fletcher, Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, Brian Cage, Mark Davis, nope, nope, sorry, Rocky Romero, Hechicero, Wardlow, Andrade El Idolo, Trent, Jake Doyle, and Clone. Any three of these men, any two of these men. Just saying. We're moving on. And the recently victorious and the new Ring of Honor Trios champions, Dalton Castle and the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. They did beat the Shane Taylor promotions back at Supercard of Honor. And in my opinion, they're always like a collision event, like to, fill in the card and like make sure that no one is like someone who isn't able to perform, like call the Outrunners, call Castle. They'll be there. They'll be there to do whatever you ask them to do, win, lose, mostly lose. But in this chance, they won this match. They are the new Ring of Honor Trios champions. And it would be nice to see them have like a super match against the conglomeration just down the road. And number 9, I got the Bang Bang Gang with potentially the returning Jay White, Juice Robinson. Juice Robinson, Ace Austin, and Austin Gunn, and then along with his brother Colton Gunn. But those three Juice, Ace, and Austin Gunn are, in my opinion, I don't know why I put two U's. That was my bad in the typing. Um, those are the only three that have been actively participating in matches so far this last couple months. And when we finally get the return of Jay White, this group can either reach its potential or it will disintegrate from the inside and they all can go about their ways. And Colton and Austin Gunn can become the tag team champions. Ace Austin can try and challenge maybe for the national championship. And maybe we might get Juice and Jay making a tag team run themselves. All right. I'm sorry I had to take a small pause. And with that, my brain is thinking more clear. I had decided to move the Bang Bang Gang to number 10 to the honorable mention, and number 9 is the team that did take a loss with Don Callis family and the Dogs this past Sunday at Double or Nothing in the Stadium Stampede. That is the demand. It would be Toa Liunga, Bishop Con, like those guys, the stuff they did. I don't know why I blocked them out of my head, but yeah. They get so now Bang Bang Gang would be 10, and then the honorable mention is the Rascals. Like, say what you want, but I know they've been taking squash match defeats after squash match defeats, but at any moment, these guys can always join any 10-man tag team match, any 8-man, anything you need where you need multiple men to do great spots where they, showcase each other's talents and also enhance the abilities of their opponents. You call the Rascals. And then the one that was my honorable mention but is now taken off is the team that lost in the feature bout of the buy-in portion of Double or Nothing, Shane Taylor Promotions. But now we go from that to the women's tag team rankings, and we only got 5 teams and an honorable mention. That's how I made it up. Number 1, the champions, the Divine Dominion, Megan Bang, Lena Cross. I think they are on a collision course to defend these tag team championships at All in London against these girls, the Brawling Birds, Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor. There's no other tag team that I have in this list that can be like, yes, we're better than this team, even though they aren't right there to be challenging for the tag team championships right away, but we know it's a collision course. Unless Alex or Jamie gets the opportunity to challenge for the women's world championship in their home country, This to me is the next best thing. And then after them, number three, the Triangle of Madness, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, the AEW Women's Champion Tekla. I think anytime these women can come back and make a run at the championship like they almost did when the tournament started for the inaugural champions, which eventually became Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron. But these girls have always been ready for a championship run for that title. And once once I feel like her world title reign has kind of phased out, then they'll focus on making a run for the tag team titles. Number four, the women who made their return last Sunday during Sammy Guevara's, or Saturday, sorry, World Championship match against Darby Allin in the Collision main event. Ty Mello and Anna Jay then came out to save these girls, Viva Van and Zaya Steele, who almost lasted the full 5 minutes against the Divine Dominion. So I put them at number five. And yes, number four is the team that saved number five from getting stomped on, but you'll know, like, they might use this match as they, didn't get squashed in the duration, but post match they did. But now they can take that I'm going to say momentum, but showcasing on a big platform like Double or Nothing, where Viva Van was an enhancement talent 4 years ago and is now on the pay-per-view card. That was a great quote. I'm glad they caught that from her. And lastly, the honorable mention for the women's tag team rankings, the Inspiration. The former WWE tag team champions as the Iconics, and now going to the Inspiration gimmick with formerly competing in Impact Wrestling and now in AEW. They haven't been competing lately. We all know this, but we all know every year AEW goes to Australia for their big show for Grand Slam. By the time they go there, I have a feeling Cassie Lee and Jessie McCabe will become prominent AEW tag team challengers. Maybe champions, but by the time we get to Australia next year, challengers guaranteed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my rankings episode for AEW. Tune in tomorrow for my preview for AEW Dynamite in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Until next time, keep grinding, keep loving sports, and as always, stay humble.